Hey guys, I decided to do a video. I'm waiting for my son to get out of school, and I just came from Tacoma Community College. I had to get all my stuff and everything. I was already registered for the class, um, but I had to get my parking permit and ID badge and medical badge and all this other kind of stuff that I'm gonna need to start this next week. So, um, anyway, went there and everything was costing, like over $100. And I'm like, I don't have really the money for this, but God made a way. He always makes a way. So he made a way and I got my stuff. So I'm glad about that. So it's a good day, even though it's raining. Um, I had a kind of a question. And I know my Christian family, you know, friends or family. So I'm talking to you guys because I know a lot of you are Christians. Um, I wanted to ask you a question, and it's about the word discernment. Because I asked my husband what it meant, and he was like, he didn't really know. So that's when I looked it up. But I watched this person on YouTube. She's a Queen Amidala. She's a YouTuber. She talks about a lot of spiritual stuff, you know, a lot of world events and things that's going on with the black community and stuff. So I listen to her, like every day. I don't always catch her live, but I, watch her videos after the fact. And she, always said to pray, for discernment. And even she prays for discernment. So I'm like, okay. And I looked up the word discernment. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Okay. I've been in the church, Seventh-day Adventist church, since age 3. That's when I started. Singing in the choir and, ushering and, all that. So a lot of my belief basis and the way I think and my behavior and the way that I feel about certain things are based in Christianity. Now, I don't believe in everything that, I don't believe in anything that a preacher says, first of all. I don't go to church. I'm not a practicing Christian. But I have a lot of respect for the faith. And like I said, a lot of, things that I deal with and everything deal with that. But I'm also a very spiritual person. So when it comes to God, I believe in God. I believe there's a higher power. I don't see God the way Christians see God per se. I know that there's something greater and something bigger than us. Christians see God as the Father, as the head, as a male, because fathers are male. So that's giving God a male, perspective, a male gender, giving God a gender, basically. I don't do that. I see God as the creator, as source, as, the universe, as everything. To me, God is everything. So it's not a person, it's not a he or she or anything like that. God is just source, just energy, just creator. That's it. So I'll say that much. Now, back to the word discernment. um, Discernment, when I looked it up, it said the first definition, because I looked it up on on Google through Webster's, and it said, well, through Google on Webster's, but it said discernment, the first definition, the first one, and it said a noun. So it was wrong because I'll just tell you what it said. It said judgment. Now, but it said noun. So I was kind of confused because noun is a person, place, or thing, and judgment is more like an action. So it could be like a verb or maybe an adverb or something of that nature. So I was a little confused. But anyway, it said judgment. So I'm like, okay, but then in the Bible it says, judge not, lest ye be judged. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm praying for discernment and discernment is judgment, then, but the Bible says that we shouldn't judge, then, like, what? I don't understand the correlation here. Help me out, my Christians, because I don't get it. Not trying to be funny. I'm just like, it didn't really make sense. So then there's a second definition under the word, under the first one. And it said judgment, but it was like the Christian, basically the Christian explanation, or the way Christian context is what it said. So it's the way Christians see it. And it was like a way to tell the difference between something that like is either negative or positive, something that's good for you or bad for you, and a judgment. So basically like a judgment call. So I'm like, okay. So I was like, it's still judgment though. And the Bible said that we shouldn't judge. So, I guess as long as you're not going to someone and telling them, that, what they're doing is this, that, and the third, I guess as long as you don't do that kind of judgment, it's okay to judge, or to, and then call it discernment. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not going to say that I don't judge people, because I do. I do on a daily basis. If I'm driving down the road and I see a man, whether he be white, black, Chinese, Mexican, whatever nationality he is, I'm a woman. So if I'm driving down the street and I see that, normally my car doors are locked. As soon as I get in the car, they automatically lock when I throw the car in gear. So, normally they are, but sometimes, might get into a car at a parking lot and not lock the doors right away, which I used to do, but I don't do that anymore. But if I see someone, I'm like, bam, 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 like locking the door, hitting the button, like right away, because it doesn't matter to me what color you are. If you're a man, I'm a woman, I can't take you. I can't, you're gonna overpower me, and I know this. So, to physically try to fight you off is just I'm gonna lose. So, unless you're much smaller than me, and there's, not many men that are smaller than me. But anyway, so I'm locking the doors, but, I mean, it's just things in life in general that we judge. We might see a person, and, that person looks this way or that way, so maybe I should work on that side of the street, or, something, anything like that. We judge. Everybody judges, even though they try to say it, they don't, they do. It's a part of life. The thing is I think you shouldn't think bad about a person just because of the way they look. Because that man that has on a business suit could take advantage of you, just like the man that's wearing some bummy sneakers and torn up pants and a ripped up shirt and everything else. Hey, it's all the same. And that's the way I see it. They're all the same. So I say that to say this: just be careful out there, family. Don't trust nobody, because you really can't. And I hate, I hate that. I hate that it's like that. And I hate to have to say that. But some of us are too nice and too trusting. And you cannot trust people nowadays, and like I would say back in, I'm a 70s kid. So I was born in 74. So, back in the 70s and 80s when I was young growing up, you could trust people, and it was the way we grew up. You know, small town, you know, had friends in the area. You know, people looked out for your house, you looked out for their house. If, you know, they were away or whatever, you know, the neighbors knew, oh, so and so's on vacation, so I'm gonna watch, you know, look out, you know, watch the house for them, you know, just to make sure nothing's going on while they're gone. Okay. You know, and you know people and people know you. And um, you know, it was like that. So when, you know, back then I was a latchkey kid. So I had, you know, keys, and I wasn't really a latchkey kid for long, you know, because I mean, I did a video about this before, but, you know, my mom worked because she wanted to. She didn't have to, but she wanted to. Something for her to do and get out the house. My dad was retired. He had a business, but, you know, he made money from that, and he retired. So then he would do, you know, help out his friend. His friend had a construction business, so he would do stuff like that and just run around and, you know, just be a little busybody. But he took my mom to work, you know, when he picked her up from work, you know, every day. So, you know, he didn't have to work. You know, we had money. Um, so it was like I was home. Sometimes when I get home off the bus, he'd be there. And, you know, sometimes he wouldn't. He'd be up the street at my aunt's house or somewhere in the area, in the community somewhere. Never far. So I go in the house, you know, let myself in, you know, lock the door, get something to eat, you know, and everything, sit down, watch TV or whatever. And he would come home, and then I would go with him, and we go to pick up my mom. Um, you know, sometimes I would go. Sometimes I'd be like, oh no, I'll just stay home. You know, when I got older, you know, I was like, I'll just stay home, and then I was allowed to, because, you know, when you're younger, you can't make that call. You're gonna go. So I would go, but I wanted to go anyway because, you know, they would stop at a store, or, you know, I get McDonald's, or I get something, you know, so I always want to go because, you know, you're gonna get something. So you know, it was like that. It was okay back then, you know, because even when, you know, I let myself in, like say if he wasn't there, you know, and I let myself in, there was neighbors, you know, down the street, you know, or across the way, that would know, you know, okay, this is the time little Mary gets home or whatever. So, you know, we just going, you know, watch the house until, you know, Clyde get there, you know, or Daisy get there, somebody get there, you know. And so you had that. You had the sense of community. Um, and it was okay. And, you know, thanks be to God that I never had any problems. Um, but now, you know, you can't really do that with the kids. Um, if I lived in Weymouth still, which I don't, I'm all the way over here on the Pacific Northwest, you know, I'm on the West Coast. But if I lived in Jersey with my 9-year old, and say I lived in Weymouth, you know, in a house in the woods, you know, like I used to, I wouldn't leave him there. You know, I wouldn't be able to have him be a latchkey kid because people are different now. Um, People are, you know, you can't trust them. And it's so much nefariousness and so much evil going on in the world nowadays. You really cannot leave your prized possession, which should be your child, and say, okay, they'll be okay. I'm just going for an hour, or I'm just going for 2 hours. Because within that time span, something could happen and you will live to regret it. I'm telling you, like, I'm always like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm very protective of my children. I've always been, and I'm never going to change. I have you know, grandchildren. Be protective over them too. I'm protective over everyone I love. Doesn't matter how old or how young, because I'm like, I know that anything can happen. You know, so I'm not going to put myself or my loved ones in a position for something to happen. Like, just like I say, something bad could happen, something good could happen, you know, or nothing could happen at all. But there's always that chance that something negative can happen. And since that chance is there, and it's very real, I'm not going to put myself or my loved ones, especially my children, in the position for something negative to happen, possibly, and them getting hurt or, killed or anything, bad, God forbid. So I'm not that person. I'm precautious. I'm locking doors, I'm locking windows, I'm, putting bars, and I mean, I'm doing it all. I'm buying guns. I'm like, we're gonna be prepared. So that's just me. But I'm saying this because I'm seeing a lot of things on TV now where people, you know, kids are walking to school and either not making it to school or making it home. You know, they're going over a friend's house and something is happening, or they're getting kidnapped. I mean, it's like so much stuff. And these are older kids, like 12, 13, 14, like kids you would think that wouldn't happen to, but it's happening to them. It's happening to grown women. You go to the store, to the Walmart and stuff like that, you out there and it's late, they snatching up women too. Like, human trafficking is real. Sex trafficking is real. And they'll snatch up boys too. Like, it don't always have to be women and young girls, it's boys too. Okay, and everybody gets it. So you have to be vigilant. You have to be careful. You have to be aware. You have to have your head on a swivel, like they say. You gotta know what's going on. Be aware of your surroundings and what's around you. Because at any moment, something can pop off. Now, I'm not telling you, to go out there strapped. Pretty soon I will. But I'm not telling you that's what you have to do. I'm just saying be prepared, because you never know. Now, it brings me to this one thing where I kind of got perturbed with these people. They pissed me off for real. I had this appointment at a laboratory, and I had to go and get blood work done, or had to go get a shot, something I had to do. And I have Micaiah, of course, and something told me to call before I went, and I did call. And they were like saying that kids can't come in because they had something happen before, and it was involving a 13-year-old, and something where the parent came to get something done, and she left the child out there in the lobby, and she told them that the child was out there, and everything. So the child was out there in the lobby. Something kicked off where he did something and broke something, that belonged to the establishment or whatever, and it was a big problem. So they was like, no, we're not letting children, because it's like too much of a liability, and we can't watch your children, so you can't leave them in here, in the waiting room while you go back there. But don't you know, they had the audacity to tell me, she was like, how old is he? And I was like, he's 10. She was like, no, and at that time he was 9. I was like, he's 9. She was like, oh, well, he can sit in the car. He can wait in the car. She was like, in Washington State, kids can be left alone at age 9. He can stay in the car and wait for you. And I'm looking at her like, lady, have you lost your damn mind? Like, my 9-year-old is not, and man, look, I didn't look at her because I wasn't there, but I looked at the phone like this, she done lost her damn mind. He's 9. I am not leaving him out in the car. Are you okay? I don't know what people do with their children, but my child is not sitting out in no car at age 9, and I'm inside a building, can't see what's going on, don't know who's coming up to my car, don't know anything like that, even though my child might not unlock the doors. He would listen. Eric don't, Micaiah don't lock the doors. He would leave them locked. He does what I tell him to do. But that's not the point. The point is somebody can break in and get in and take him, and then, you know, like, come on. Then I'll be on Channel 3 News up there crying, talking about, have you seen my child and bring my child home. And no, I'm not going to be that person. So what I had to do was, had to have a family, member watch him while I went there and everything like that. Because I'm like, no, like, that's, I don't know what these people, no, it's not happening. So, and it's like whenever I had children, I would try to work a job at night, because I want to be there in the daytime, and especially in the summer where there is no school. So if you work and your spouse works, like me and my husband, now that I'm going back into working, we're not going to work the same shift. We never did. I would work at night, and he would work in the day, or vice versa. We could have done it that way, but I like working at night. I'm a night owl, so I like, I'm used to that. My body's used to it. So that's what we would do. So we not only would we not need a babysitter, but we're watching our child, and we know, and my husband does a great job with watching our child. Of course, I do a much better job. Just because I'm mom, it's just the way it is. No. But it's, he does a good job with watching him. So so that way we both, can watch, and we both know what's going on, and there's no issues, no problems. But we really have to be mindful, and we have to watch our children. We just can't let anybody watch them either. They got to be vetted. They got to, be checked. Like, there's only so much you can do with checking a person, but if you have to leave them, with someone, just make sure you check, you find out as much as you can, you run police reports, you do everything, because you just cannot trust people nowadays. Even with him, going back to school, it's like, I don't know these teachers, like, I'm leery with them too. Like, I'm leery with everybody, so I don't trust anyone. But it's like, you just have to be that way. You have to. I was listening, now off of that subject, I want something else. On my way driving to Tacoma, I know a lot of you heard that song, Father, Can You Hear Me? Father, can you hear me? That song, and it was with Tiffany and Cheryl Pepsi Riley and some man, I forget his name, but Cheryl Pepsi Riley, her part when she took the song, oh my God, it was like, woo, it blew me away. I was up there singing, like, I was praising God, all the way to Tacoma, having ministry in my car. But that one, and then awesome, my God is awesome. He can move the mountains, hide me in the valley, protect me from the rain. So I love that song, and I never knew who sang it, but then I heard, Queen Amidala was talking about it, and she, gave the name of this man who sung it. So I listened to his version. It's nice. It's beautiful. I think it's with the Mississippi Choir, but I heard that and I was like, oh, and it just hit me, man. I was like, oh, I just felt it. Like, Christians would say, you felt the spirit, but whatever I felt, it was just like all over me. I'm crying, driving, singing, because it hit me. And, it's like we're going through, something right now where we just got out of something with a family situation, but it's gotten better. And now here comes something else. um, but I decided, I'm like, I'm just going to pray about it, which I did. And, just take it to God and leave it there. Like my Aunt Magnolia used to sing, take your burdens to the Lord and leave them there. And that's what I'm going to do. That's exactly what I'm going to do because I can't do nothing about it. But, you know, it's God will handle it. And I can just prepare, but so much on my end. I can just do what I can do and leave the rest to God, and whatever happens will happen. God, universe, ancestors, you know, it'll be in their hands. Um, but we just have to, be careful. We just have to be careful out there, family. You can't trust everybody. Everybody that says they're your friend is not your friend. Everybody that says they love you don't love you. And you just gotta really, really, really get to know people. You can't be like knowing somebody for 2 months and be like, oh, we're in love. That's not enough time. That's puppy love. That's infatuation. It's you really have to be careful. And I say it because I was talking to a person that was in that situation. I was trying not to be hypocritical. I met my husband, he met me at work, and he came up to the window. I told the story before, and we started talking this and that. After work, we went for drinks and, snacks across the street. We played pool and we listened to music, and, we drank and had snacks and, this and that and the other, and talked all night from A to Z about everything. And, so we, and then he went back, to Virginia, and he came up 2 weeks later. And from that point, we were together. It was like from that first night, we knew, that we wanted to be together. And, we knew we were meant for each other. Now, did we have bumps along the way? Yeah, we did. When it first started out, we didn't really have any bumps. But, we had bumps along the way. We got married a year after we met each other. Some people would say that's not long enough. But we got married and we got a divorce too. 4 years later. And then 9 years after that, we got back together. So, it's like, you really have to be careful. You just can't, you just can't rush into anything. You really have to think about what you're doing. And you really have to get to know the person, know the situation, know the surroundings. You need as much information as you can get to make a sound judgment. This person happens to be in a long distance relationship. I don't believe in those. I've been in those. Me and my husband, like I said, he was in Virginia at one point, and then we stayed together. And, he came up to Jersey. We stayed together. This, that, and the third. He had to go, down to Florida, to find work. And that's where we were going to wind up being. So he left. So I was gone, he was gone from me for, let's say, like a few months or whatever. And then I went down there. But, that was back then. And not that it makes it any better. people were probably saying, oh, that's too quick to be with that man, Mary, And yeah, they would have been right in saying so, but nobody said that. If they said it, they didn't say it to me. I never heard it. But it worked for us. But that doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody else. You know, you just have to be careful. Times are different. I met my husband like the tail end of 1999 into 2000. You know, times are different. It's now 2000, almost 2023. Times are different. People are different. It's a lot of stuff going on. You can't do the same thing that you did, 10 or 20 years ago. You can't do that same thing today and expect it to be hunky-dory. It doesn't work that way. So it's like, I can only do so much on my end. I'm just praying for this person. I'm praying that God gives them the gift of discernment, that God gives them more, just praying that they make the right decision and they don't do something that I think could be very costly or not good, and God forbid, detrimental to them. So family, I need y'all to pray too. And I'm not going to put the person's name out there because I don't do that. But I need you to pray, for this person as well. But, it's got me worried. It's got me concerned. But just pray. Just please pray. And, hopefully they'll make the right decision. Which the decision would be to give it more time and to, maybe not be in a long distance relationship. Maybe this is not the person. You just have to think. You really have to think, and nobody can do it for you. You have to do it. You have to take your emotions out put it to the side and be like, look, I got to really think about this. I might feel like I love this person, and everything that I'm talking to every day, or whatever, but I have to give it more time because, you just have to. You have to be careful. Have to think. But that was basically what I was thinking about today. And, just weighing heavy on me. Trying not to let it weigh heavy on me, but it is weighing on me, So I know this person watches my videos. So if you're watching, like I said, I'll never say any names. I'll never